As the best man, Branden Stetson knew that it was his duty to organize an unforgettable bachelor party for his friend, Matt. He decided on Las Vegas, knowing that the city's motto of "what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas" meant that they could have an unforgettable and insane weekend free of judgment. However, the group's plans took an unexpected turn when Ashton, the bride's childhood friend, joined the bridal party. Branden was immediately wowed by Ashton's rugged good looks and disarming smile, and found it difficult to focus on anything other than having his own wild time in the town known as Sin City. Who doesn't love going to Vegas for a bachelor party? It's the perfect place for a handsome young buck to blow off some steam before tying the knot. I should know. I've gotten into a fair bit of trouble in that town, but that's another story. Today it's about Branden and his buddy Matt, heading to Nevada. Or is it Nevada? For a weekend full of frisky fun. Oh, they certainly find it, plus a whole lot more. It's time to go all in and put your chips down on romance for this month's Steamy Story. Vegas Bachelor Party. At 30 years old, Branden had convinced himself he would be single for the rest of his life. This wasn't due to a lack of suitors. No, his handsome, boyish looks and innocent demeanor made him stand out in a crowd. Branden wasn't interested in meeting other men at all, since his heart already belonged to someone else, his best friend Matt. Matt was a rugged, gregarious, extreme athlete who enjoyed skydiving and whitewater rafting. He loved pushing himself to the limit and spending time in nature. Branden was happy to join his friend on his crazy adventures, and as a result, the two men became fit, toned, and inseparable. Branden and Matt had met years earlier at university, where they shared an interest in engineering. The two college buddies would spend many evenings locked away together, preparing for class and working on their assignments. Often, as the friends huddled on the couch studying, their bodies would sometimes innocently touch. Matt's arm would casually rest on Branden's leg, or his leg would slightly rub against Branden's foot. And while Matt wouldn't give it a second thought, these interactions excited Branden in a way he dared not reveal to his friend. Branden's heart raced, and his breathing became shallow if their flesh nonchalantly made any connection. Matt, however, definitely didn't feel the same way. Branden watched with a heavy heart as Matt fell head over heels for a sexy CrossFit instructor named Sherry. Sherry shared the same zest for life and extreme activities that the boys had, in addition to being beautiful and clever. Years had passed. School was well behind them, and their friendship grew stronger. It was spring, and love was blossoming all around. Matt was excited to share some big news, so he invited his buddy for a beer at their favorite pub after work to talk. Branden already knew what his buddy was about to ask him, but he decided to feign ignorance and play along. As the two men settled into their favorite booth, Matt beamed with an awkward, innocent grin as he chuckled. "You know what I'm about to ask you, don't you? It's been a few years since I've been with Sherry, and it's time I popped the question." While Branden was pleased to hear his friend was happy, hearing Matt plan to marry anyone other than him felt like a billion bee stings to the heart. The man he loved was officially going to be someone else's. Nevertheless, he conjured a hearty laugh as he replied, "Dude, it's about time you made an honest woman of her." The two friends chuckled as Matt reached over and took his buddy's hand. Branden's heart pounded in his chest at the simple contact. Matt spoke thoughtfully. "Branden, you're the most awesome guy I know, the brother I never had. It would be an honor if you would be my best man at the wedding." Branden became emotional. He tried to cover his tears of joy by loudly blurting out, "Dude, of course. I'll be your best bro at the wedding. Not even a question. Anything for you. What else do you need me to do? Matt laughed as he replied, "Nothing else. Just be a best man." Branden corrected him. "You mean the best man?" Yes, Matt chuckled as he continued. "Yes, the best man, along with Sherry's friend Ashton. Sherry asked me if her childhood friend Ashton could also be a best man at the wedding. Is that cool with you? I told her you'd be chill with it. Do you mind if Sherry's bestie is also a best man?" Branden took a long, deep breath. He was delighted for his friend and the news he had just shared, but the thought of a second best man just seemed wrong. Branden swallowed his pride, though, and pretended to be happy as he answered, "Matt, we've been tight for over 10 years. It's not about me. It's your day with your bride. If Sherry wants her friend to be a best man too, it's cool with me." Matt gave his bro a big bear hug as he sincerely replied, "You're awesome. Really. I love you, man. Thanks for being so accommodating." Branden melted inside as he soaked in the sensation of Matt's muscular arms hugging him adoringly. His embrace felt like a warm blanket, making him feel safe and happy. How could he ever say no to this man? Matt had his heart forever, and whether either of them admitted it, they both knew it. "You'll like Ashton, I promise. I hung with him when I visited Sherry's parents in Denver. He's a cool guy. Trust me, you'll think he's great." Matt winked as he released his friend from their hug, signaling the waiter for another round of beers. Branden couldn't help but sarcastically reply, "I can't wait to meet him." The bachelor party was upon them, and the guys drove to Vegas to go nuts for the next few days. Branden and Matt were the first to arrive at the hotel. Neither of them had been to Vegas before, and had no idea what to expect. Matt noted how pleasantly surprised he was that the hotel was tasteful and sophisticated, rather than garish and tacky as he had expected. An eager host greeted them with a pleasant, "Welcome," and handed them 2 room keys. "Here you go, gentlemen. Everyone has been checked in. Please have a wonderful time. Thank you for staying with us and choosing our hotel. Oh! And we received a note for the groom." The host handed Matt a printed message before turning to attend to the next guest. "What's up? What does it say?" Branden asked. Matt cleared his throat and read Ashton's memo. It says, "Good news, I'm now going to be able to come to the bachelor party after all. I'll be arriving late tonight, but I'll be there. Don't start the fun without me." "Great! Let's get Ashton another room." Branden excused himself, under the auspices of looking at the rest of the very interesting hotel lobby, as Matt dealt with the hotel clerk in getting another room. In truth, he wasn't entirely sure how he felt about Ashton joining the bachelor party after all. But anything to make his friend happy. After a few minutes, Matt joined him, a bashful expression on his face. "Yeah, the hotel's sold out. It's been sold out for months, and another room for Ashton would be impossible. Would you be cool if I put Ashton in your room for the night? You've got double beds. There's only one king in my room." Branden had to suppress the urge to blurt out, "What the hell, dude? I don't even know the guy." But he knew it would be selfish to deny the groom his own room this weekend. Branden swallowed his pride and put on an accommodating face. "Yeah, whatever is cool, man. I'm fine with Ashton crashing in my room tonight if that's what you want. We can get this all sorted out tomorrow morning." Matt quickly responded, "You're the best, man. Best man." Get it? Whatever. Let's get ready for the party. We can meet up with the rest of the guys at the bar at 7. With a hearty pat on the back and an excited twinkle in his eye, Matt turned and headed down the opposite hallway towards his own private room. As Branden headed to the elevator, he couldn't help but feel like he disliked Ashton more and more. After a serious workout at the hotel gym, he had returned to his room to freshen up. And what a room it was. This bathroom is the size of my apartment. I could just live in this room and have plenty of space to entertain, Branden mused to himself as his muscular physique dripped with warm water. Branden stepped out of the shower, but it was time to hustle and get ready. His workout had taken longer than he had expected. He knew that if he rushed, he'd barely be in time to meet up with the group. He quickly wrapped a small towel around his midsection and dashed towards where his clothes were laid out. As he unwrapped his towel from around his hips, standing naked in the middle of the room, a deep voice, clearing his throat to signal his presence, scared the shit out of him. Branden yelped, "What the hell? Holy crap, dude!" Instinctively, he covered himself with his hands, noting an intruder in his room. Branden fumbled to grab the towel off the floor and wrap it around himself again. A series of uncontrollable giggles emitted from the stranger in the room, who kept repeating, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. I'm such an asshole. I didn't mean to scare you. Branden's anger dissipated in the absurdity of the situation. He knew the person standing there chuckling was likely Ashton. Try as he did, he couldn't stay mad at a guy for just walking into a hotel room he thought was not only his, but empty. I'm Ashton. I should have knocked. I seriously, my bad. Branden was now awkwardly covered up and joined in the laughter. The sight of Ashton came as a shock to Branden. He didn't really think about what he would look like or the kind of guy he'd be, but Ashton was a sharp-dressed, well-groomed, and articulate man in his 20s. Ordinarily, sun-kissed California boys weren't Branden's thing. Ashton's big green eyes, wavy blonde hair, and tanned, ripped body, it was oh so delicious. "I'm Branden," he said, before realizing that his towel suddenly had an unexpected, large bulge in it. Ashton smiled. "Nice to meet you. Guess we're roomies for the weekend." Yeah. Seems like it," Branden stammered. Ashton seemed oblivious to Branden's struggle as he continued. "Matt said they didn't have enough rooms for everyone, so he bunked us up together. That all right?" Yeah, all good. It's fine sharing a room, no biggie. Now, let me get dressed now, and we'll go meet the rest of the guys." Branden scurried off behind the dresser, out of sight, to slip on his boxer briefs and tuck himself discreetly behind the fly of his jeans. 7 o'clock came and went. Fortunately, Branden was only 15 minutes late to their designated meeting spot. The bar was bustling, and all the guys were dressed sharp, yet casually. It was good to see all the guys together. Nothing was going to stand in the way of Matt having a good time tonight. Branden would make sure of it. One of the guys signaled to the waitress to bring another round of tequila shots. Another round? Already? Oh, it's going to be one of those nights. Branden pretended to drink the shot by casually slipping the alcohol into his water glass. There was no way he was going to get sloppy drunk this early in the evening. Matt came over, an eager expression on his face. "Has Ashton arrived yet? What do you think?" Branden simply replied, "Yeah, he's here. We met for a minute earlier. He'll be down in a minute to join us." Matt looked at his buddy earnestly. "Please give him a chance. Get to know him. I think you two will really hit it off." Branden quietly thought, "I doubt it. Just because a dude's ridiculously hot doesn't mean he's going to get any favors from me." A second round of drinks arrived at the table, as did Ashton. The guys quickly introduced themselves and engaged in friendly conversation. The discussion soon devolved from work to sports to women. Pitchers of beer flowed, as did stories about the guy's straight adventures. Branden did his best to join in with the group, but as hard as he tried, he increasingly felt like the odd man out. Ashton sat at the far end of the table with Matt's friends from work. He looked at home with those bros. Jokes and silly phrases quickly flew back and forth. Branden couldn't help but feel disheartened at how he didn't fit in with the group. Ashton frequently looked over to Branden with an empathetic gaze, sweet smile, or wink, but Branden wasn't interested in his attempts to be friends. What is this guy's game? Is he mocking me? Or is he just trying to make some sort of acknowledgement that he's Matt's new best friend and I'm on the way out? Branden cut back on the few drinks he had since they were making him anxious and paranoid. No one seemed to notice or care that he wasn't drinking anymore. Beers and chaser shots came within minutes of each other. Everyone was getting smashed. Branden looked at his watch. The group had been drinking for 3 hours now, and the bachelor party was settling into the bar for the night. Hey guys, I got us all tickets to this fun 80s cover band concert. It starts in 20 minutes, if you'd like to go. It's in this hotel, so we don't even have to leave. Branden gave an excited smile and enthusiastic hand gesture to rally the troops, but no one at the table seemed to care about Branden's proposed activity. Ashton shouted in response, "That's awesome! Let's do it!" But he appeared to be alone in his enthusiasm for it. Matt quietly turned to Branden and pulled on his shirt collar. In a calculated, deep, slow slur, he interjected, "Dude, that would be a blast. I do that, but I am not exactly feeling so good." Matt's face was flush and his eyes glassy. He was seriously intoxicated. His erratic sway signaled that he was in no shape to continue drinking this evening. Hey guys, Matt's not looking so good. I'll bring him upstairs to his room and be right back. As if he were a pro at handling inebriated fraternity brothers, Branden swung Matt's arm over his head and onto his shoulder and helped him stand. The two men, now somewhat awkwardly, made their way towards the hotel elevator. Once inside the hotel room, Matt stumbled around, attempting to get undressed. As with most drunk guys, he had a serious case of the "I love you" mans. Branden tried to get him to drink water and lay down, but Matt insisted on telling him how much he appreciated him and cherished him like a brother. Branden thought his sweet sentiments were cute and enjoyed the loving words he spoke, but still. The fact remained that Matt was intoxicated and needed to sleep off the booze he had consumed all night. "Fine. I'll lay down. I'm tired anyway," Matt asserted as he staggered across the room, trying to remove his shoes. "Careful, you'll fall. Let me do that," Branden insisted as he untied his laces for him. As Matt sat on his bed, he clumsily unbuttoned his shirt and struggled to peel it over his head as if he were a failed escape artist trapped in an impossible trick. With a mighty thump, Matt fell back onto the pillows of the bed, shirtless, wearing only his jeans and socks. Instinctively, Branden unzipped and removed his friend's pants. The room was dim, and the flickering neon light seeped in from the street, bathing Matt's pumped chest and chiseled abs in a warm red glow. It wasn't until Branden had Matt's pants around his ankles that he felt strange about disrobing his friend. Branden's sole intention was to make him comfortable so he could sleep through the night, but as Matt laid still, half naked in his boxer briefs, looking ridiculously vulnerable and innocent, Branden wondered if he was wrong to find his friend as appealing as he did. Fight it as he did, the fantasy of reaching out and caressing Matt's gorgeous face consumed him. This is the man he loved and desired for the last 10 years, now practically naked, lying within arm's reach. How could he not fantasize about cuddling up next to him and feeling his warm, muscular body pressed against his? What the hell am I thinking? This is Matt, my best friend. I can't think about him like this. I can't be getting turned on by seeing my buddy like this. Branden blamed it on the alcohol. But he knew he was sober. Even if he wasn't, it didn't excuse him from his wild fantasies about someone who was like a brother to him. Branden quickly covered Matt with a blanket, hurried out of the room, and returned to the party and the guys waiting for him at the bar. Upon returning to the table, only Ashton remained. It seemed everyone from the group had already disbanded. Ashton explained, "All the guys went to some strip club. Now I figured I'd wait for you so you didn't return to an empty table. I'm up for going to the show you mentioned if you want." Branden forced a smile, though he couldn't help but be peeved at the guys for leaving him. The show already started, so we'd be late anyway. If I'm honest, I'm kind of spent from traveling today, and I'd rather just head back to the room and chill. Ashton hesitantly inquired, "I'm kind of feeling the same way. Do you mind if I join you? Or do you want to be alone in the room for a while?" Branden was impressed at how thoughtful the question was. He also realized how considerate it was for him not to make him return to the bar alone. With a slight, warming smile, Branden replied, "It's your room too. If you're beat, feel free to join me." Upon arriving in their room, Ashton reached into his suitcase and pulled out an expensive bottle of scotch. "Care for a nightcap?" Branden was all in for a drink before bed. At this point, he was now sober and felt like he needed a cocktail to take the edge off the day. Ashton took 2 glasses from the bar and poured them drinks. "A toast to the happy couple, as well as you and I, meeting and hopefully becoming friends." Branden graciously took the glass from Ashton's hands and toasted back as they clinked their glasses. "To the happy couple," Branden said, before turning around to sit in a chair in the corner of the room. After an awkward moment, Ashton spoke up again. I'm going to crash, if you don't mind. Feel free to watch TV if you want. The volume isn't going to bother me. I can sleep through anything." He unbuttoned his shirt, folded it, and placed it back into his suitcase. Branden's inquisitive eyes peeked over at him, noticing his washboard abs and round, ripe ass. The dude is built. He probably got that rip from surfing. The guy checks all the boxes in the sexy department. God damn it. Branden tried desperately not to stare at his new roommate as he dropped his pants and kicked them into the corner. Tighty-whities instead of boxers? Damn! I don't hate that. Branden's heart raced at the seemingly unintentional show his roommate was putting on. First Matt, now this hot straight hunk. Why is the universe punishing me tonight? Branden knew he needed some help getting through the evening, so he inquired, "I think I could use another drink, if you don't mind. Can you pass me that bottle?" "Have as much as you like. The bottle's yours," Ashton answered without a thought. Branden helped himself to another generous pour and situated himself back in the chair. Ashton was now in his sweatpants. He was wearing them commando style with a sleeveless, form-fitting tee. Branden couldn't help but notice how clearly and distinctly he could see his roommate's state of arousal through the thin, worn fabric of his cotton pants. Branden couldn't help but think, any dude working with that size of equipment needs to start an OnlyFans page. I mean, damn! You know, on second thought, maybe I'll join you for a drink. Ashton cleared his throat and gazed upon Branden with a distressed look. He continued. Hey, not to be rude or weird about things, but I'm catching some serious frost coming my way from you. If I did something to piss you off, please let me know. I'd like to make this a fun weekend for everyone, especially Matt. So if you're mad at something I did, let me know and I'll try to fix it. Branden didn't think that his disdain for Ashton was so obvious. He quickly replied, No, dude, I'm fine. You're good. I don't have any problems with you at all. Ashton looked confused. Branden sighed and looked away. Well, if you're anything like me, you're struggling with this wedding. Branden choked on his scotch, then cleared his throat and inquired, What do you have against this wedding? Do you not like Matt? Ashton was quick to reply, No, Matt's a great guy. He's perfect for Sherry, but... His eyes suddenly teared up as he choked out the following words. I'll tell you a secret. I've just been kidding myself for all these years. Branden was on the edge of his seat, waiting for Ashton's big confession about his friend. I've been in love with Sherry for the last 10 years. As much as I think your buddy Matt is a great guy and perfect for Sherry, I can't help but be a bit brokenhearted knowing that she will soon be someone else's bride. Branden was stunned. He sat motionless. What do you say to something like that? Is this bro in love with the girl my best friend is about to marry? No way! Branden had to ask the obvious question. So, if you're both so tight and love each other, why aren't you together then? Ashton's melancholy expression turned into a shy smile. I could never marry someone I wasn't sexually attracted to. Branden was baffled. Dude, she's smoking hot. She's every straight guy's dream. What's the problem? Ashton's smile turned into an outright laugh as he wholeheartedly agreed. Yes, you're right. She's every straight guy's fantasy. Not mine. Branden was stunned. He didn't know what to say. He was amazed that Ashton was actually gay, and that no one had mentioned it to him before. Before Branden could reply or offer any comfort to him, Ashton continued. I hope I'm not overstepping when I say this, and perhaps it's the two scotches talking, but I see how you look at Matt. You got the same expression on your face when you're with him that I do with Sherry. It's the identical smile I have when she walks into the room. If I'm right, you've wished for as long as you've known him that he was gay so you could be with him the way you want to be. Branden was speechless. Ashton had just said out loud the words he dared not even think for the last decade. Ashton looked deep into his eyes and waited for him to say something. Instead of speaking, it was as if they knew what the other was thinking, what the other needed. The two men slowly leaned forward and softly pressed their lips against each other's. Branden realized how long it had been since he'd been intimate with someone. He had waited so long for Matt to return his affection that he never physically or emotionally reached out to another man. And here, suddenly with Ashton, he was excited in a way he'd never been before. He felt comfortable, warm, and wonderful. What was this feeling? It was delightful and almost euphoric, similar to a drug that had only good effects and nothing bad. His heart raced as his body tingled, He reached up and drew Ashton closer, kissing him more passionately than he'd ever kissed anyone. The two men wanted the other out of their clothes desperately. Each reached over to the other and impatiently helped them strip from their wardrobes. Ashton worked over Branden's dress shirt button by button, excited at the prospect of the tight, muscular torso that awaited him underneath. And once shirtless, Branden's pants were next. Ashton cavalierly whipped his belt through the loops as he impatiently unfastened his jeans. Branden's breathing was shallow as he desperately desired to have Ashton in his bed. Between gasps, Branden confided, I haven't been with many men. Please be patient if I'm not very good at this. Ashton chuckled as he nibbled on Branden's neck, replying, Me neither. But I can't help but think that whatever we're doing now, even if it's incorrect, is pretty damn fantastic. Branden knew where this was going, and he was all in. Branden then pulled his lips from Ashton's mouth, and with a heavy gasp, suggested, I'm not sure if you've seen the bathroom we have yet, but it's pretty spectacular. What do you say we move this into the shower? Ashton greedily pulled off his tee and slipped out of his sweatpants. A shower sounds perfect right now, since all I'm having are filthy thoughts. Branden laughed as he followed Ashton's firm, naked bubble butt into the next room. The next day, all the bachelor party guys met up for brunch at the pool. Ashton asked Branden to apologize for his delay in joining them. A long table was set up next to a series of cabanas. Everyone had arrived early, and some were on their second mimosa by the time Branden showed up. Matt saved a special seat for him. Branden was pleased that Matt thought about holding him a place next to him. Matt couldn't wait to apologize. Oh, dude, sorry about getting so drunk last night I passed out. I have no memory of even getting back to the room. Branden simply stated, No worries. After the group disbanded, I headed back upstairs myself. So, how did you do with Ashton sharing a room? I figured you two would either get along famously or kill each other. Since he's not here this morning, maybe I should grab my shovel and dig a hole to help you dispose of the body. Branden chuckled as he confided quietly. He ended up being a good roommate. He's on his way down shortly. It turns out that Ashton's pretty cool after all. I get why you like him so much, and why you wanted him to be your other best man. Matt put his mimosa down and asked, Why would Ashton be my best man? You're my best man. Ashton is going to be Sherry's best man. Matt could see that Branden was baffled by his statement. He clarified. Sherry doesn't have a lot of female friends. She thought rather than asking someone she wasn't very close with to be her maid of honor, she'd rather have Ashton be her best man. Branden was embarrassed for making such a silly mistake, even more so by being threatened by Ashton for replacing him in his friendship with Matt. Before Branden could explain himself, Matt confided, Bud, you'll always be not only my best man, but my best friend. No title or person could ever take away how I feel about you. You're my dude. Forever. I love you, man, and I always will. Branden's eyes teared up at the sweet words being spoken to him. However, knowing Matt as well as he did, he quickly clocked his impish grin. Branden shoved his friend away. I know that expression, what gives? What did you do that you need to confess? Matt laughed. Don't be mad, but I pretended that I couldn't get a room for Ashton at the hotel, just so you two would have to bunk together and get to know each other better. I knew that if you gave him a chance, you'd like him and become friends. Maybe more, Matt confessed with a wink and a sly smile. Upset? I'm thrilled. Branden exclaimed. I had an amazing night last night, and I know Ashton did too. In fact, we decided not to go home with the rest of you tomorrow. We plan to spend a few more nights here. In the same room. In that amazing shower. Matt fist bumped Branden as he boasted, Go get him, Tiger! I knew you two would hit it off. I'm super psyched for you two. You know what they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Branden was quick to reply. Forget that shit. I want the world to know that I met an awesome guy and had the best sex of my life here. That story reminds me of a nudist wedding I went to recently, where I was the best man. By 2 inches. Hey, I don't write the scripts, I just read them. Speaking of scripts, if you enjoy this podcast, please share it. A nice comment or two or rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify is also appreciated. Honestly, why keep all the fun to yourself? Go tell a friend. Steamy Stories is the podcast where bromance turns bromosexual. Written by J.C. Calciano and narrated by me, Casey. I hope you enjoyed hearing about today's tryst, and make sure to join us next month for another Steamy Story. Later, bro.